Our headline story: tourism in Africa. Now, the sights, sounds, and cultures of many nations have become destinations for tourists across the world. And Africa, to a large extent, has many of these to offer. But is she doing enough to earn enough from tourism? And are parts of these conversations areas of exclusive interest in Africa? And of course, COVID-19. How do we get back on the right track? I'm Tolulokwe Adeleru Balogun. Welcome. This is Business Edge. Now, tourism is a main revenue source for many nations across the continent. The fact that travel and tourism is a major contributor to the African economy is evident. Tourism is one of the largest industries worldwide and provides 7% of Africa's GDP. It is an industry that indirectly employs 24.6 million people across the continent. And with the lockdown, about 7% of Africa's population became unemployed. Tourism accounts for 8.1% of the GDP. That is around $194.2 billion a year that is spent on the continent by tourists. It brings investments to the continent. For instance, Radisson announced 6 new hotels in South Africa, Mali, Nigeria, Ghana, and Ethiopia. But the industry is not just affected by the pandemic restrictions, but by other restrictions across African countries because of policies from country to country. Now, joining me to discuss tourism and how the tourist economy on the continent can be rebounding is Chiamaka Obweke. She is known as Social Prefect, and she is also the founder and CEO of Social Prefect Tours. Chiamaka, welcome to Business Edge. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Tolu.
All right, so we know that tourism is a main revenue earner for many countries across the continent, but we also know that the pandemic 2020 really affected businesses like yours as well. So take us through some of the effects that the pandemic brought for tourist-related direct and indirect businesses across the continent.
Okay, so tourism really did affect, COVID-19 really affected tourism in Africa and the world generally. So basically, there were travel restrictions. People couldn't travel. People couldn't move from point A to point B, from country to country. So basically, jobs were lost. The airline industry got really hit bad. Many airlines haven't still recovered from it. So, for example, now in Nigeria, many of the airlines have just 5 planes flying, as opposed to what they had before the pandemic, maybe 10 up to 10 planes or thereabouts. And then also, different other industries under the tourism industry were hit, like the restaurant industry, the hotel industry, even the entertainment industry, which is, somehow linked to the tourism industry. They all suffered. Concerts could not hold, different things. So basically, it really did affect our job. Even as tour operators, we couldn't package tours, we couldn't send people to other countries, we couldn't do anything. So it really did affect, COVID-19 affected and hit us really bad.
So we've seen situations like in Nigeria and Kenya and other places where there are some sectors of the economy that have been getting bailouts. We've seen bailouts for aviation. We've seen bailouts proposed for transportation, even here in Nigeria. But in terms of the tourism industry, particularly here in Nigeria, has there been any assistance offered? Has any conversation been had about an official bailout for the industry?
Yes, there has been, conversations around that, and then there has also been a bailout. But did it get to the people they were supposed to get to? That's the question, or that's what's left to answer.
How much was this bailout supposed to be?
There was about I think 100 million or thereabout. There was this, I can't remember the exact amount, which I'm really sorry about.
No, that's fine.
But that was by the Lagos state government, and there was another one by the federal government as well. But I'm not sure if it got to the right people.
Did it get
or
to
if
you?
It didn't get to me.
Did it get to anybody who works in this industry?
I'm not sure it did. But there were conversations around. I think you also had to be a member of, an association or a union, which I'm a member of one. NATOP, which is Nigerian Association of Tour Operators. But also, it wasn't, the communication around that bailout wasn't proper. So, I'm not sure a lot of people got it. So.
Do you think it's needed? Do you think it's still needed? If government was able to do it the right way, people were able to meet requirements, I would hopefully say outside of unions and associations, but if it was done the right way, would that bailout still be needed?
Yeah, the bailout is definitely needed because a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people, couldn't, do things that they normally do last year and even at the beginning of this year. Although tourism is coming back now and then, people are traveling to some countries that have, reduced their restrictions and are allowing people in. However, there's still a lot that needs to be done. So the bailout is still definitely needed.
Okay, so you talked about countries moving restrictions and countries opening up. We're looking at that, and we'll get into that further on in a little bit. But let's talk about something that is being done internationally in terms of seeing if we can get the world back to flying. Now, the International Air Transport Association has introduced the Travel Pass initiative. Many believe that this will be a game changer. Now, do you think this will be accepted? This travel pass is to help passengers, airlines, and countries with their requirements. It's also to say this person has been tested or this person has received vaccination. Yeah. It's a digital way of the world sort of answering the validity of vaccinations and testings and whatnot. How accepted do you think is going to be?
I think it will definitely be accepted. It's like an all-inclusive, like one-stop shop for where you can get tested in any country you go to. It also serves as your digital passport, and it helps people to know, or helps the airline to know, helps you to know, all the information you need about COVID-19, where you can get tested if you've been vaccinated and all that. So I think it will definitely be welcome,
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, this conversation will continue, but we definitely have to ask, how is the African tourism sector going to rebound? And what needs to be done? Are we talking collaborations, airlines, travel operators, hotels? What is the future? And of the top 5 travel destinations on the continent, what can the rest of us learn from them? You stay with us. This is Business Edge. This is Business Edge, and my guest is still with me. Chiamaka. She is the CEO and founder of Social Prefects Tours. Now, let's talk a little bit more about this Travel Pass initiative from the IATA. Okay. So that's what they're doing for airlines. That's what they're doing for countries. But if I'm going to get on a plane and somebody sneezes, I might do the sign of the cross and be like, I'm not trying to fly and get exposed. So do you think this is also going to bring back some confidence from air travelers in terms of getting them moving and flying again?
So I think that, not just the digital, not just the pass that they have created, but also people still have to, wear their face masks for a long time. Yeah. I think for still a couple of years, like when you're flying, you have to wear it in the airplane, like for a very long time. You still have to wear your gloves. You still have to sanitize often. So people still have to take those, preventive measures, or those measures that they were taking because of COVID-19. Those things still have to be there. And also, I'll say that it's not just the digital pass that brings confidence. People want to travel. Mm-hmm. People are genuinely interested in going to other places, either for vacation, for business, for leisure, for whatever reason it is, to see their loved ones. So I think travel would still, take the place that it always has been, and people would resume. In fact, travel has resumed, as a matter of fact. It's just that not as many people are as confident or as willing to travel now. Yes. But I think that, the numbers will go back to what it used to be, and even more, because now people have seen how short life can be. They've seen, like how fickle life is, and how you can be restricted to one place for a whole year and not do anything. So they want to go out, they want to explore, they want to see what is out there, before they die. They want to tick all their bucket lists.
Coming up.
Yeah, so people will definitely still travel. It's not just about the digital pass, but that's very important. But people will still go because they want to go, and then also people will still take all those preventative measures.
Yes.
For COVID-19.
So that makes sense. And when you talk about, everybody realizing that life is short, all I can hear is YOLO. You only live
only once.
And especially with a generation, this millennial generation that's also been very exposed,
Yes.
I can see the bucket lists being ticked off now, and they'll use the digital pass to be sure of where they're going and how they're going to go. So let's expand this. So in terms of collaborations for the industry, how do you see that working out now? We've seen these packages before, but it seems that these kind of airline, hotel, tour operator packages are even much more important now, so that you get more people back as tourists across the world, and particularly on the continent. What do you think is going to happen with that?
Yeah, I always say these collaborations are very important. They're very key, because you can do more together than you can do alone. when one person or like one industry or one part of the industry is trying to do something, they only get so far. However, when you collaborate with other parts of the industry, when you collaborate, like airlines collaborate with the hotels, with the tour operators, with local tour guides, and everyone comes together, even restaurants and other facets of the tourism industry, that really helps. That really helps to boost tourism more and to get things even more affordable. So that's one thing that usually affects travel is affordability, especially for like the average man or woman that just wants to. That's why many people think that travel is for the rich. But when those like parts of the industry come together, or different parts of the industry come together, you can get things at a more affordable rate. And so I think collaboration is very key. And I see a collaboration I would like to see is actually the government collaborating, especially in Africa, with the tourism industry.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to see the government collaborating with airlines and, making the taxes a little bit, less, so that airfares aren't too expensive. Airfares are exorbitant in Africa. They are they are only high.
And it's cheaper sometimes to travel out of the continent to Europe than to travel in the continent.
It's crazy. And you ask yourself why. Within Europe, you can travel from, one country to another for as low as maybe like £20 or 20 euros. But in Africa, you cannot do that. You literally cannot do that. And that's something that we need to start, we need to bring more into the conversation and ask ourselves more questions. So if the government is willing to collaborate and maybe reduce taxes or make it a level playing ground, or encourage these airlines, I think it would really boost tourism. And then also if hotels and airlines collaborate, if they collaborate with tour operators who have the people that want to travel, who are the bridge between the customers and the airlines, customers and the other countries they are going to, and all that, I think it will really work. So collaboration is key. Yes.
Okay, and I see that that's a point you're very passionate about.
I'm very passionate about collaboration. I think that more people should collaborate and come together to create ways that people to boost tourism, really. Because no part of the industry can do it alone, and together is always better. Together
is better. So let's talk about how some nations have done. Now, some nations like Tanzania had earlier left their borders open and actually still allowed movement, although this is a bit reduced now, but nonetheless, some form of tourism still went on. Now, could a country such as Tanzania attract more tourists quicker and earlier than countries like Kenya that still had some form of restrictions and still have restrictions as of right now? So if you are putting together a tour now, what is it that your customers are looking for? Because you're only going to go where your customers want to go. You're going to go to the places they also feel comfortable and that are open as well. So could you go to Tanzania first before you go to Kenya, but Kenya is higher on the list of the most visited countries on the continent?
Okay, so what customers are looking for is basically anywhere that's open, really.
So have you been getting people sending you emails, Chiamaka, I want to travel, what's happening?
Yes, a lot of people want to travel. And however, they are very concerned about, is this country safe? How are their cases? Do they have a lot of cases? For example, now a lot of people are not going to South Africa because of the cases. People are going there, some people are going there, being careful and putting on their masks and trying to be as safe as possible. However, not as many people are going there as they are going to other countries that don't have as many cases, like Tanzania, for example, Egypt as well. So customers want to travel, they want to explore, they just want to breathe and be out there. However, they're also very concerned about and cautious about places that are safe to travel to. But I think that what they can learn from other countries that are open now. Sorry.
No, go ahead. That's fine. You're going there. No, you're fine. So Kenya is still restricted, but Tanzania, their restrictions are much less. So in terms of getting people back, you'll see people heading to Tanzania first before they head to Kenya. I think they'll just head there because it's open. So for example, I'll give an example out of the continent. So when Dubai, United Arab Emirates, opened in December, a lot of people rushed there. They had even though like other international bodies and like countries kind of frowned at them for opening a bit too early. However, they received
a lot of visitors. This kind of, they now had to put new restrictions, like some restaurants couldn't open, clubs couldn't open, and all that. However, people still visited. So I think people just want to visit anywhere that's open, as long as they feel that they will be safe anyways. But Tanzania, for example, a lot of people are actually visiting Tanzania over Kenya right now. Yeah, because you have Zanzibar, for example, which is this beautiful tropical island, and with its white sand beaches.
And you're not remembering that there's a pandemic raging behind
you.
All right, so Chiamaka, let's talk about some of the most visited countries on the continent. So according to the World of Wanderlust, the most visited countries in Africa are Morocco, Egypt, South Africa, Tunisia, and Zimbabwe, in no particular order. You also have Kenya and all of those. But in all honesty, literally every single country on the African continent has something that will bring tourists to its doorsteps. But what are the typical 5 countries, the most visited, the top 10, the top 5? What are they doing that brings tourists year in and year out to spend euros, to spend pounds, to spend naira, to spend rand, that other countries that are still struggling to sort of put their tourism sector together better can learn from?
Okay, I think one thing that they're definitely doing is creating awareness. So they are marketing their destinations. These countries are not perfect.
Yes.
They are not perfect. We say, oh, why would you choose for example, an Egypt over in Nigeria, for example? There really isn't. The difference isn't so much. Well, except that
we don't have pyramids.
Well, we don't have
the pyramids.
That's true. I'm going to get there. To the way they're preserving their history, their culture. But one thing that they're doing, the most important thing they're doing, I mean, if they had the pyramids, but they were not marketing it the way that they are, lots of people will not go there. True. And if people would say, oh, I want to see the pyramids, but if they're not keeping it top of mind to people out there, like creating awareness, telling people, come to, this ancient country that's as old as time, that has been there since the old age.
They're telling a story.
They're telling their stories. They're even doing this consciously, and they're doing this in a very strategic way. Many times they invite influencers from other countries to come visit their country, to come share their stories about what they've seen in, for example, Egypt or South Africa. South Africa is big with this. South African tourism spends a lot of money, inviting people from other countries. They basically spend on their marketing. Without marketing, you cannot attract these visitors. So you need to spend a lot on your marketing. You need to focus on your marketing and tell your stories to attract people. And, all of them have their own. So South African tourism is, I think Egypt is Experience Egypt. That's their tagline. They have their own taglines. They basically tell their stories. But what other countries that are not doing this can learn from them is the way they preserve their culture, their history, the way they tell their stories, basically. And then also, I won't talk about insecurity because even though, South Africa doesn't have as many, like insecurity issues as Nigeria, it's not the safest country in the world.
True.
But people still visit it, and it's beautiful. It has a lot of things, but Nigeria as well, maybe not as beautiful. I won't compare countries, but Nigeria is really beautiful. And we use Nigeria because we're in Nigeria, and it's one thing we've been talking about for years. Why is Nigerian tourism not growing? It's because another reason is because the government hasn't really, invested in tourism. So the government has to invest in tourism, and you have to spend money to make money.
Yes, you do.
Basically. And, for a country like Nigeria, that still thinks that oil is the only way forward, that tourism won't bring anything or tourism won't bring much. They haven't focused on that. So they have to focus on it. They have to see, the potential in tourism for it to, be able to make money for them and bring profit and to attract people in. But they also have to solve some things, of course, like the insecurity issues, and then also accessibility to these tourist attractions as well. You want to go to a tourist attraction and feel like you're in a place that there's no welcome to this. In many tourist attractions in Nigeria, there's no welcome to this place.
There's no sign that even lets you know where you are.
When you get there, it's not, the toilets are not even that good. These are just some of the few things that they need to pay attention to detail.
Yeah.
And also the roads. They need to make the road.
I'm gonna pause Chiamaka here because what I wanted us to do was to learn from what other countries are doing, but it's also what other countries are doing right, because one of the things I've learned with tourism is also word of mouth. When someone goes somewhere, they have a good time, the pictures are good, it brings that country, brings that destination to the mind of their family members, to the minds of those who come across these pictures as well. So Chiamaka, before we wrap up, very quickly, I'm going to ask you to give me one sentence on this. So tourism accounts for 8.5% of the GDP and employs 24.3 million people across the continent. And while African countries may not take it as seriously as they should, it actually employs more people than oil, than all these resources that we're so focused on. In terms of a prediction for 2021, and as the African tourism industry attempts to rebound, what's your predictions? By the end of this year, I don't think we'll get back to the same numbers of those who were flying at the height of 2019, but do you think there'll be progress made?
Yes, there'll definitely be progress made. As long as, like countries reduce their travel restrictions. I think people are ready to travel. People are ready to travel and I'm saying this as from a tour operator's point of view, because we have people coming to us saying, oh, where is open right now, where can I travel to, which countries are there restrictions, like
not so difficult. I don't have to take 3 tests and give blood and also something else.
Cut your leg. So a lot of people are ready to travel. So as long as the restrictions are not that many, they would go there. So I definitely see a progress. I see, maybe not as much money as was made in 2019, but definitely, somewhere near there. I see that happening for 2021 and beyond. 2022 is definitely going to be the year of travel. As long as it's going to be
competitive. So I'm going to end here, because that 2022 conversation, countries and destinations will be competing, and I think it has to be a conversation as to how tourists can take advantage of what's going to be on offer at that point in time. But Chiamaka, thank you so much for joining me on Business Edge. It was a pleasure talking to you. All right, so before we wrap things up, let's give you NC4 to watch, a few of the stories we're keeping our eyes on. We start in Nigeria, where the Director General of the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, Captain Musa Nuhu, has announced that the Emirates airline will soon resume its flight operations in and out of the country. Now, he was speaking during a briefing, and he explained that there was an ongoing discussion with the airline, and the outcome would be disclosed in the next 48 hours. It was in March of this year that the government banned the airline from operating over its continuous refusal to fly passengers without a pre-boarding rapid diagnostic test. And that's one thing that could definitely lead to a boom in tourism for them. Now, Central Bank of Kenya has signed an agreement with the Italian organization E for Impact Foundation to support Kenya's financial technology startups in a bid to promote innovation in the financial sector. The agreement will have startups given access to international investors, markets, and players in the fintech space. Moving on from there, we're heading to South Africa now, where the country has planned to increase the licensing threshold for small-scale power generation projects to 10 megawatts from 1. This is expected to boost availability of electricity to firms anxious to curb their reliance on the ailing state utility Eskom. Now, Africa's most industrialized economy regularly suffers electricity outages because of faults at Eskom's old, outdated coal-fired power stations. And finally, the UK, that's the United Kingdom Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab, has announced that he will impose sanctions against 3 Gupta brothers who were previously accused of being in a corrupt relationship with former South African President Jacob Zuma. AJ, Atul, and Rajesh, otherwise known as Tony Gupta, are among 22 people from 6 countries who face restrictions ranging from visa bans to asset freezes after the UK expanded its sanctions regime to include corruption for the first time. And that's it on this edition of Business Edge. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. Head to our website, our YouTube channel, and of course, download our mobile app to keep us with you wherever you go. Online, off ground, and of course, offline as well. We keep Africa first. Till next time, have a good one.